Plan. And welcome back to the What If SEGA Was a Failure series. And this is part 3, the final part. So last time we pretty much had a stalemate. The NES and, well, no one. The NES and the video game industry more like. Nintendo has an iron grip on the video game industry, but unlike the real events, there's no one there to push them off. There's no one better than them. There's no SEGA to kind of push them on to the 4th generation of gaming. But maybe there is someone. Let's take a look. So here we have the Panasonic 3DO. And that's just pretty much going to turn out the same way it did with all the models of the 3DO. The problem was, as you probably know, hardware companies can't make money off software for 3DO. As a result, they have to charge incredibly high prices. People don't think it's worth it. And as such, the 3DO, it goes bust. Despite having good games like Gex, it's not going to save this console. But what about the Atari Jaguar? And that's where I think things get interesting. Because even though the Jaguar did have problems in the real events which held it back, let's take a look at the competition that the Jaguar had, and this was the main reason why it failed. It was going up against the Super Nintendo and the SEGA Mega Drive. And even then, advertising it as better graphics was still a bit of a stretch, as the graphics didn't really look that much better compared to what we were already getting on Sega Mega Drive and Super Nintendo already. In fact, Sonic 3 on the Mega Drive actually looks better than Rayman on the Atari Jaguar. But graphics don't matter. But when the Atari Jaguar was pushing forward the 64-bit argument like it was the second coming of Christ or something, they really had to back it up. And that was something Atari failed to do in the real events. But now they can just advertise having better graphics. And yeah, it'll work. Another thing that destroyed the Jaguar in the real events was that it ended up competing alongside the PlayStation and the Sega Saturn. And even then, it looked outclassed by the 16-bit Mega Drive and Super Nintendo. Imagine how bad it's going to look next to PlayStation and Sega Saturn, both CD-based 32-bit consoles. Fight for Life on the Atari Jaguar looks terrible in comparison to a game like Tekken on the PlayStation or Virtua Fighter on the Sega Saturn. So, the Jaguar is pretty much doomed at this point. But what about in our altered events? And I think that's where it can succeed the best. Regardless of whether the Atari Jaguar or the Atari Panther gets made, I will explain what that is in another video, Atari are still going to have a leg up on Nintendo because their hardware, even though it might be more difficult to develop for, is obviously more advanced than the 8-bit Nintendo. They can use the argument that they have better graphics and people will believe them. Rayman for the Atari Jaguar certainly looks better than Super Mario Bros. For the NES. And yeah, now Atari have a following. Unlike the altered events where Unlike the real events, rather, where Atari failed because, well, they just didn't have enough games, they can lure people in with the graphics. These are games that can be made on the Atari Jaguar, but they can't be made on the NES. This is going to draw on third-party support. Games like Doom will be featured more heavily in advertising, because games like Doom were actually good on the Atari Jaguar and worked better than on any other system around at the time. So Atari has a leg up on Nintendo. That is until Nintendo releases the N64. Yeah, they're just going to release the N64, and that's going to compete with the Jaguar, and we're going to have a bit of a heavy competition here. We have Alien vs. Predator, Doom, Wolfenstein 3D as the first-person shooters. Iron Soldier and Tempest 2000 are going to showcase the 3D graphical capabilities, and Rayman is just going to be kind of a mascot for the Atari Jaguar. While Nintendo still have their amazing first-party support that can produce games like Super Mario 64, Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time, Super Smash Bros., and many more games. Until, of course, Atari released the Atari Jaguar CD. And this is a very unusual What If series because I can't go forward to the present day. That is to say, I don't know what's going to happen next. I mean, we might say Microsoft would come along, but Microsoft won't come along now because, well, SEGA aren't around, and as such, well, they're not going to try and enter the video game industry. But that isn't to say we can't guess. I'm not going to guess, but hey, maybe you can make up your own answer as to what would happen. All I know is that it would be Atari versus Nintendo in the present day event, unless someone came along out of nowhere and completely steamrolled the two of them. Aside from that, that's pretty much it. I've been the man with a plan. Thank you for watching my video. If you like this video and you'd like to see more videos like this, then please subscribe to my channel and leave a like on the video.